Hi, I'm Chris, and this is Euro Goodness, a channel mostly focused on medium to heavy strategy games. Today I'm going to be going through my top 5 games. Before I get started, if you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing, and if you've already subscribed, thank you very much for your support. So I recently hit a milestone mark on Instagram, which was like 500 followers, which is not a lot, but you got to start somewhere. And so I wanted to go through my top 5 games to commemorate the milestone and to share those with you. So these are my top 5 board games that we have in our collection. And I'll start with my number 5 here. So this is a very heavy, most of these games are actually very heavy. But this is a heavy, I guess, root building strategy Euro game. It's based loosely on maybe a little bit of Brass and Barrage. This is Nucleum. So this came out a couple of years ago, I think in 2023. This is a fantastic game designed by Simone Luciani and David Turczi. And there's a lot of similarities to both Brass and Barrage in this game. In this game, you're basically spreading out influence and growing your network and your businesses and building buildings and electrifying buildings to score points and build up your networks. What makes this game really interesting and made me love it from the moment I started playing it was the action selection system. I really enjoy the dual-sided railroad action tiles that you use to take actions. So you either take those tiles, you place them above your board, and you get to take both those actions in either order, or you can place those onto the actual game board and take those actions there, and it's necessary to build your route and to extend your network. But then you've then lost access to those actions. So this is a really interesting mechanism, and then you can also obviously buy more action tiles, so you can get them back. That same mechanism was also present a bit in Newton. That was Luciani was a co-designer on, where you would have to tuck your action cards at the end of the round, but you'd have to buy new action cards, otherwise you would run out of them. But there's a really heavy Euro game. It's quite long and complex, but it's super fun and engaging. I really love this game. So that's Nucleum. We also played I have the Australia expansion, and I really like the Australia map, probably better than the base map. So that's Nucleum. My number 4 is a game that everyone will know, which is Ark Nova. So Ark Nova is kind of like this huge tableau building game where you're building a zoo. You're building up your board and placing enclosure tiles, placing animals in enclosures. It's got a lot of engine building in it. The thing that makes Ark Nova so great, besides the theme is quite well implemented and is a lot of fun, is the action selection mechanism. Once again, the action selection in Ark Nova uses a system that was, I think, previously in Civilization and New Dawn, where you had this kind of like typewriter card row action system where your action cards got better as they got to like higher powered slots. And then when you use the card, it then goes back to the beginning and it becomes a weaker action, and then all the other actions get stronger again. This system is super engaging and it's really a lot of fun. I really love this game. From the moment I played this, I couldn't wait to play it again. So Ark Nova is super popular. I think it's sitting at number 2 on Board Game Geek now. Deserves to be number 1 in my opinion. But this game is just fantastic. And so that's Ark Nova as my number 4. Okay, so moving on to number 3. I'm a huge fan of Alexander Pfister's games. Maracaibo's excellent. Great Western Trail is good. Actually prefer probably New Zealand now of the Great Western Trail games. But my favorite of his is Boon Lake. So Boon Lake is a very heavy Euro game where you're basically building up this settlement in this like fictional American West kind of area. You're like kind of rebuilding a civilization of sorts. But you're exploring on a map. You're building houses and settlements and placing out cows, to get points. It's a Euro game, right? But the engine building is really interesting in the game, and the part that I like the most, which is the action selection system. So in this game, the action selection system is one of those where whoever's the active player will choose an action, and then they'll resolve that action for them, and then all the other players at the table will get to resolve a lesser action of some sort. Sometimes it's very similar to the main action. Sometimes it's a little bit different. It might be playing a card or getting some resources or something like that. But it's really fun because everyone's engaged on every turn. And in the game, you're going to be moving down like this river, kind of like Maracaibo. We're going through like a big rondel. It's a little bit different here, but based on the action tile that you take, you'll be moving certain spaces on the river, either 1, 2, 3, or 4 spaces. And the faster you go, the shorter the game, I guess the round is. But when you go further down the river, there's better bonuses down there, and you're putting more pressure on the other players for them to keep pace with you. You'd end up hopping other players and going faster down the river. And then there's scorings that happened partway through the game, and then halfway, and then 3/4, and then there's like a final scoring. So the cadence of the game is really interesting. The follow mechanic is fantastic. You have like these 2 canoes on your board for any of the 4 resources, and those are like virtual resources that you have in addition to permanent resources so that you can play cards. The card system is really interesting. Overall, this is just a fantastic game. We have the Artifacts expansion as well, which is really good. It does add some complexity on top of the game already, but it is a really excellent expansion. So Boon Lake is one that I love and is my number 3. Okay, so next up is 2 games that look thematically similar but are quite different games. And my number 2 game is Arboria. This was Danny Garcia's first announced game. I remember kickstarting this back in, 2021, 2022, whatever it was. And being super excited to try it. It has it's worker placement game, but you're placing them on these tracks that are moving. A little bit like Tzolk'in, except instead of having like gears that are turning, you have these tracks that are moving. And then the further you move down the track, the better the benefits are when you recall your workers. But the theming of it, it's really interesting. It's got this kind of like mythical, fantasy, Japanese kind of look to it. But then you're also gaining these, you're completing these biomes, these like cards, and then you're creating these like overlapping areas and environments to then place these creatures in that you end up getting. So this is before the game came out. Actually, I think Barcelona had come out, so that was I think his first released technical game. But this is the first one that I had heard of Danny Garcia as a designer, and this is one of my favorite games. I've played it solo. I think it's probably best with like 2 players, maybe 3 players. Even though it goes to 5, I think the game is probably best with 2 and 3. And in 2 players, you have quite a bit of control over the resources, which is interesting. There's an expansion coming out next. Well, it's probably next year by this point. It's supposed to be the end of this year, but I think it's coming out next year. Corruption expansion. So I've backed that, and I'm really excited to try that. But this is Arboria. All right, and then let's move this over here, actually. My number 1 game came out a couple years ago, and as soon as I played this game, I actually saw this game at PAX Unplugged. It was set up on a table, and I looked at it, and I couldn't even understand what was going on. There was so much information, so much kind of chaos on the board. The more that you play this game, and really like halfway through your first game, you'll be able to kind of easily see the board and the pieces. But you'll know what I'm talking about if you've played Bitoku. So Bitoku is my number 1 game of all time. I absolutely love this game. This game, the theme is really, it's more of a setting than a theme. There is some theme to it for sure. You're trying to be like this new spirit of the forest. It's got really just like a Studio Ghibli kind of look to it. But the art is gorgeous. The game looks beautiful, and I'm sure that that's some of the appeal. But really, this is a almost like a worker placement card. I wouldn't say deck building, and maybe a little bit of deck building, but it's like a hand management game where on your turn you're either placing one of your cards that unlocks one of your dice, which are your workers, or you're placing one of your dice out on the board to take an action, or you're using one of your dice that have previously been placed to like cross this river to get more bonuses and cards and other things. There's a ton going on in this game. There's a lot of engine building, a lot of combos. You have pilgrim tracks. You have these path cards, these Bitoku paths that you create to the side. You have yokai that you're building. You have scoring that you're building towards. There's a lot going on in this game, but the game is gorgeous, and this is just my favorite game of all time. We have the expansion. If you haven't played with the expansion, I highly recommend it. There's parts of it's kind of a modular expansion, so you don't have to include everything in the game. But the modifications to the tracks, the lake tracks that you use, are well worth the expansion just if you use it for that. And there's some extra cards and stones and rocks and scoring and stuff in there. So this is Bitoku. This is my number one game. And so those are my top 5 games. If you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have played these games, please let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Because I know these some of these are loved by many people, and some of them maybe not so much by everyone. So I'm curious what your thoughts are, and what are your top 5 games. So I'd love to see you put those in the comments and see what you thought. All right, that's going to be it for this top list here. And so thank you for tuning in, and have a nice day.